TV and Film Blog 1. What scenes have you watched today? In our lesson today, we watched some different clips from different serial dramas, including Hollyoaks, Coronation Street and EastEnders. There was two clips from the programme Coronation Street. We watched one quite sad and dramatic clip about a baby's death, a mother giving birth and then the baby dying shortly after, and also we saw the effect of that baby's death on the parents of the child. So we did actually see the woman breaking down after a baby had died. And the other clip from Coronation Street looked at a domestic abuse storyline with Sally Webster and her ex-boyfriend beating her up and her feeling scared. So they were both quite dramatic, intense clips from Coronation Street. And the clip from EastEnders looked at an argument in the Vic pub between Janine and some other people in the Vic. And then finally, the Hollyoaks clip that we watched looked at, again, quite a dramatic scene about an eating disorder, a young woman who was suffering with an eating disorder. What did you notice about the scenes? What was most noticeable in the scenes, and what was the genre of the scenes? So all of the scenes, what I did notice, all of the scenes related to real life. So there were real life issues. So domestic abuse is an issue that we have in modern society, as is infant death and eating disorders. So all of those were relatable situations that could potentially help anybody who is going through that kind of trauma in their life. However, quite a lot of the things were quite dramatic and dramatised, particularly the EastEnders clip. We noticed that the argument was happening and no one was listening, and then all of a sudden everybody stopped and started listening, which we thought was quite dramatic and quite unrealistic. So some of the things within the scenes were quite overly dramatic. Some of the scenes, I feel, as well, weren't as naturalistic as they should be. Again, referring back to EastEnders, the argument with Pat and Janine, I felt it was very, very, very over-exaggerated. People's reactions were very delayed. It was very staged. It didn't seem as realistic as it should be. What techniques were used by the actors? So Stanislavski techniques, particularly in the more serious, hard-hitting storylines, so the eating disorder, and the domestic abuse and the death of the child. So Stanislavski techniques, bringing it to real life. We're meant to be able to relate to the characters as if they are real people, so a lot of Stanislavski techniques were definitely used in these serial dramas. What techniques did you learn today? How might this be useful in TV and film acting? So again, Stanislavski techniques. I feel like that would be useful in TV and film acting, because if you look at the characters in the show, in the programmes, none of them look at the camera directly. It's all as if they don't know that the camera's there. They're just living their lives as these people would without recognising the camera. This is good because it's meant to be like an outsider looking into a home. So say if two people are having... so, for example, the domestic abuse storyline is meant to just be Sally and her ex-boyfriend in the home. No one else is meant to be there. So they don't recognise that the cameraman is there or that anybody is watching. It's meant to just be two people behind closed doors, four walls around them. No one else can see, no one else is there. So that's really useful for TV and film acting, because unlike on the stage, I feel like on the stage sometimes you recognise that the audience is there in a lot of stage acting. But, you know, in TV and film, and particularly in soaps, in serial dramas, you're not at all breaking that fourth wall at all. It's all very naturalistic, and Stanislavski not breaking that fourth wall. What was the scene you worked on? So this week we looked at a duologue, which we found on the VLE. So we got into pairs and did some script work scenes. The scene had two friends. They were just small talking. And then the small talk sort of grows and grows and grows and leads to a bigger argument between the two people. About their parents and about their mother. You know, someone's mother's gone away, someone's mother's died. So we looked at performing this scene for the camera as well. So what bits would we focus on, what bits would we want to zoom in on us, how we were going to build that tension up from a very, very boring, normal conversation to a more heated argument as the scene went on. What issues are in the scene that you've looked at? So in the scene there's a character called Mike, and he's trying to comfort a character called Jane, but Jane's refusing to let him in. So Mike trying to help him by relating his own issues about his mother leaving him, but Jane is upset because her mother's died, so she's not letting him in. She starts to get very angry. It gets very heated and quite awkward. What were the strengths and weaknesses of your scene? I feel the strength of our scene was the way we built up the argument. So we started off quite calm, quite boring, you know, just two people having an argument, and then slowly and gradually we built up that tension, and then at the end it was an argument that was quite interesting, quite captured the audience. So I feel our build-up went really well. One thing I do think we could have worked on is, I know in particular I looked at the camera a couple of times, naturally by accident. I need to make sure that I don't do that, because it is meant to be like the camera isn't there. It's meant to be Stanislavski, naturalistic, and if you look at the camera, I feel like you're breaking the fourth wall in a way. You're making it non-naturalistic, and so I need to make sure I don't do that. I need to make sure I forget that the camera's there. Choose a scene performed by someone else in the group. What did you enjoy? I really enjoyed Declan's group today. I feel like Declan in particular really did build up that tension. As the scene went on, he gradually built it up very slowly, that tension, so that at the end I was really captured by this moment, this heated argument. I felt really captured by it, but also for the rest of the scene he made it look a little bit awkward, so you could almost tell that something was going to happen. So even though it was boring at the beginning, you were still a little bit captured by it, because you could tell that there was a lot of tension there, and he just continued to build that tension up, which kept me interested. I really enjoyed that. I thought it was really, really good. And also, he didn't look at the camera at all. He completely forgot about the camera, so again, it made it more naturalistic, like a soap opera. And I really enjoyed that. I thought it was really good and really appropriate to the style that we were looking at in lesson today.